Welcome to the tutorial video on how to install a damper onto your Bullitt. It's important to have a clear working environment when you do this, and we recommend elevating your bike in some way to give you clear access to the front. So I'm going to elevate this bike so you can easily see how to install it. Depending on the speed you're cycling at, the load you're carrying, the surface of the road you're riding on and your tyre pressure, the front wheel may begin to wobble. The damper is a great product to add to your bike if this is happening. The damper removes the wobble and stabilises the steering, making it softer and more comfortable. It's a good idea to start riding with the damper set at a low resistance first, to get used to the feeling, before setting it to your preferred resistance. For this job you will need a torque wrench, a 5mm hex key attachment, a 4mm hex key attachment, a T20 Torx key, a 4mm hex key, a 5mm hex key, a 10mm spanner, a 15mm spanner, a crosshead screwdriver, and high-performance grease. In the box you will find the damper and 4 bolts with 3 washers. The damper comes as a pre-assembled item with 3 areas to note: the resistance adjuster, the fork bracket, and the side bracket. It comes with the fork bracket adjusted to 0. You will need 2 of the 4 bolts to mount the damper, and which ones you use will depend on the setup of your bike. The M835 is for bikes without a honeycomb board, bolt A, used with the large washer. The M845 is for bikes with a honeycomb board, bolt B, also used with the large washer. The M650 is for bikes without a front light attached to the fender, bolt C, used with 1 small washer, and the M655 is for bikes with a front light attached to the fender, bolt D, used with both small washers. Loosen the front light with a T20 Torx key and orientate the light to the ceiling so that it is out of the way of the bolt. Then remove the front light or reflector using a 10mm spanner or a 5mm hex key. Remove all washers and the bolt from the fender. Your fender may be mounted on the front or the back of the fork, depending on your bike model. With the damper on your bike, you will need to have the fender mounted on the front. If your fender is on the back, you will need to remove the front wheel by releasing the quick release. You can then bring the fender bracket to the front of the fork. With the fender in the correct place, refit the front wheel. Next, if you have a honeycomb board on your bike, you may want to remove the front bolts using a 15mm spanner and a crosshead screwdriver. This will allow you to move the front section of the honeycomb board back to give more room to work behind the fork. Now wipe down all parts of the bike the damper will come into contact with to ensure that those parts of the bike are clean before mounting. Then orientate the damper so that the resistance adjuster is on the right and the side bracket is on the left, as viewed from the riding position. Mounting the damper onto the bike. Pass the damper behind the fork and push the side mount onto the frame of the bike in line with the hole in the frame. The damper should hold itself in place there. Grease bolt C or D depending on your bike. If you have a light, place the bolt through a washer, the light, another washer, the fender, the fork, and finally the damper bracket. If you have a reflector, pass the bolt through a washer, the reflector, the fender, the fork, and finally the damper bracket. Use a 4mm hex key to tighten to 5 Nm. You can then readjust the light to face forwards again. Next, grease bolt A or B depending on your bike, and pass it through the honeycomb board if you have one, the frame of the bike, and into the side bracket of the damper. Tighten with a 5mm hex key to 5 Nm. Finally, refit the screw in the other side of the honeycomb board. How to adjust the damper. You can then adjust the resistance of the damper from level 1 to 7. This is a personal preference and will also depend on the weight you're carrying on your bike and the speed that you're cycling at. The heavier the load, the higher resistance we recommend. However, we recommend cycling with it at low resistance first to get used to the feeling of the steering.